2 points worth making here. I've received endless correspondence via Facebook, email and plenty of people calling my radio show today saying that they couldn't give two stuffs about the American election. Why does an American presidential election mean anything to us in Australia? Why do people like me spend so much time talking about it on television? Well, the answer is pretty damn obvious. I want to take you back to 2008. Not just around this time in 2008, but in the lead up to this time in 2008, when the American economy started to tank, when stupid deals were done by Wall Street bankers, overbetting on futures, the American economy started to tank. When the subprime mortgage market in places like Las Vegas started to tank, so did the entire global economy. Problems happened in Europe and problems happened here in Australia. Things got so bad that, remember, the government had to turn around and hand out $900 cheques to many Australians. That's because of what happened in the United States. Australia went to war in Iraq because the United States believed that it was the right thing for us to do. We are still in Afghanistan despite that horrible death toll because the Prime Minister keeps saying that we need to remain focused on the mission. Our mission is inextricably linked to what the United States is going to do. Our troops will pull out at the same time as the American troops, and not because there's any pressure from you or me or even from Australia. It's because that is the date that is convenient to Barack Obama in order for him to campaign for the American presidency. Their economy matters. Who manages their economy matters. Whether there is going to be a war with a place like Iran matters. How they deal with China matters. So as annoying as it might be that we talk constantly about states that many of us have never visited and some that we've even, frankly, never even thought about since this time 4 years ago, it profoundly matters. But secondly, I want to cast your minds back too about this time on Melbourne Cup Day 4 years ago, when Barack Obama absolutely hit it out of the park and had 250,000 people at his victory rally in that park in Chicago. Whether you would have voted for him or not, there was a definite feel in the air that something was going to change. Now, I know that the term change has been overused and the rock star factor was pretty unrealistic, but there was a very genuine belief that America needed to change the way that it did business. Barack Obama was the vessel with which that change was being expressed. People who had never voted before or people who had only voted for the first time cast a vote for Barack Obama. In fact, first-time voters and long-time absentee voters were the very reason why Barack Obama won at all. If the same numbers of people voted in 2004, with not a single new person joining the electoral roll by 2008, John McCain would be the one going for his second term, not Barack Obama. So it was this hopey-changey thing that was able to bring so many people to the ballot box and ultimately deliver Barack Obama the presidency. If Barack Obama wins tomorrow, and by any reading of the opinion polls, I think that seems to be the way that it's going, he'll only just eke it out. He's not going to have 250,000 people at his victory rally. Sure, he'll have a few, but it's not going to be 250,000 people. People aren't buying T-shirts and doing posters and getting tattoos and all of that weird rock star stuff that was happening. But before people want to immediately suggest that it's the Tea Party and the right-wing Republicans who did this to Barack Obama and his people and supporters here in Australia need to understand that in part, Barack Obama did it to himself. Barack Obama was handed the biggest electoral blank cheque the world had seen for a very, very long time, and he grossly misspent it. He, for some reason, let professional deal makers and rather dodgy politicians in his own party, who were there in full control of the House and the Senate, screw up lots of decisions. Unlike when George W. Bush had eked out his victory in 2000 and eked out a slightly bigger victory in 2004, Barack Obama didn't know how to negotiate. He didn't know how to make that cheque work. And torturing the metaphor, the whole thing went on to be bounced 2 years later in the midterm elections, when the only people who were left in the Republican Party were the far right wing, the Tea Party, who took over. They eventually were able to take back by some margin the House. And it meant that for the next 2 years of his presidency, the sole job of the people in the opposite party was to ruin him and knock him out of office. Now, anything can happen, but I'm fairly confident in saying they will fail in that goal. But what is going to happen tomorrow is not just the headline about who's going to be president. It's going to be who's in charge of the House, who's in charge of the Senate. Remember, if a president wants to go off to war, they need the Parliament, the Congress, to agree that it's the right thing to do. If he wants to stimulate the economy, he'll need the parliament to do it. If he wants to get anything done, he will need to work with the people that have tried to push him out of office for the best part of the past 4 years. And that will be a fascinating lesson for us here in Australia. Now, we know that governments are often handed huge majorities when it's a change of power, but slowly they get eked out. Slowly they have to learn how to negotiate with the other side. And right now, as we know, it's a hung parliament in this country. How Barack Obama presumably governs his version of a hung parliament for the next 2 years before we all start talking about Hillary in 2016 will be fascinating to watch. It matters. It matters about the compromises he's willing to make and not willing to make. It matters for the economy, for war, and ultimately for little island getaways like us. I made it clear at the start of the show why I think it matters, and also the different lessons that have come out of the past 4 years, how politicians who overpromise and allow people to turn them into deities, effectively when they actually have to start making laws, don't quite live up to the hype. But we all know the election is on. The first votes will actually start to be cast in the American election probably in the next couple of hours. A clear result should be clear by about 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow. 4 o'clock is when, if there is a clear winner, you're probably going to see some speeches. So you'll see all of that unfold tomorrow here in what will be a fantastic day of political nerddom here on Sky News. Let's talk about a couple of things here, but let's first hear from the President and then the wannabe President. Here he is, Barack Obama, in his closing argument today.
You may not agree with every decision I've made. Michelle doesn't. There may be times where you've been frustrated at the pace of change. I promise you, so have I. But I tell you what, you know what I believe. You know where I stand. You know I tell the truth. You know I'll fight for you and your families every single day as hard as I know how.
Geez, he looks old, doesn't he, compared to where he was 4 years ago. Mitt Romney doing his best work to suggest that momentum is with him. This is what he had to say in his final statement. Will he be president by this time tomorrow?
He says it has to be this way. I say it can't stay this way. He's offering excuses. I'm offering a plan. I can't wait to get started. He's hoping we'll settle. But Americans don't settle. We build, we aspire, we grow. We can do better. A better job, a better life for our kids, a bigger, better country.
What was interesting there, and we can get into some of this, look, there's a lot of dog whistle that's been around American politics for a while. The sign that was up behind Mitt Romney there was actually informative to have a look at. It said, vote for love of country. As if one party is more American than the other. That's all the dog whistle about, is he or isn't he an American? Gary, before I get into what you think's going to happen, do you agree with me that tomorrow matters, that talking about it matters, that the consequences of this debate and the direction of that country matters to us in Australia?
Absolutely, and apart from everything else, it's the world's biggest economy. So what happens in America tomorrow and what happens over the next 4 years does impact on Australia. Paul, I thought your editorial at the beginning of the program tonight was spot on. And look, as difficult as it is, because a lot of people automatically think that you, me and a bunch of others are just, as you say, political nerds. But this actually does get down to the dollar and cents. This gets down to our interest rates. This gets down to our terms of trade. This gets down to the decisions that are made by government here. And it really does matter. And we should pay attention to this awkward, strange political process called the American presidential election.
Now, Janine, why does it matter for you? Why does the result matter rather than which candidate wins? Why does it matter that we endlessly bang on about an election we don't have a vote in?
I could tell you, obviously, for the same reason, I think economically it's just crucial to the world. I mean, it's not just the fiscal cliff they're going over, or as you quite rightly pointed out, if they catch cold, the world sneezes. Protectionism, if one of them goes in, there is 1,000 things. But having covered a number of US elections, and I've lived there twice, I was there in 2008. I was standing in a park, not the park, but a park, when Obama took the oath of office. So I do know the feeling. I do know, I can remember what the feeling's like. And the thing is that we have a lack of confidence here at the moment. If we think things are bad and our economy's not that bad, if you lose confidence, if America loses confidence, it really is a huge thing. It's important for the world. And can we just say there's going to be another change of government, another important economy in the world? That's not actually going to be an election in a democratic country. This is the only election in a democratic country. Forget the communists in China this week. This is the free world.
We'll talk about this. And by the way, before Chris Kenny, my dear colleague who I like very much, starts tweeting about too much Obama love, Janine had said very early in the piece that he could be the new Jimmy Carter. So, OK.
I said that ages ago, only because of the mood when he came in, the anti-Republican mood.
Yeah.
The reason they loved Obama was the same reason they loved Jimmy Carter. They thought he was outside the Beltway. He was new, he was refreshing, he wasn't like the others. Guess what? They never are.
Well, correct. I mean, and look, and his election and the size of it was about a rejection of the previous 8 years as much as, if it is, any endorsement of what he was putting on. Tours, why does it matter to you?
I think the thing that, obviously the economic issues are massive for us, but also security and military issues have a big impact on us. Obama said he would pull out of Iraq, and he did. If he hadn't have done that, I can't imagine that we would have either. And as long as the US is pulling out of military situations rather than going into military situations, then we're going to be in a similar situation, and I don't think anyone would think that was a bad thing.
Now, I don't know, you can choose not to answer the question, but if you were going into a polling place tomorrow, which way would you vote? I would vote for Obama, and here's why I would vote for Obama. Not because I'm a crazy lefty who is loving the symbolism of the bloke and all the rest of it. It's that the enormity of the task that he was given, the mess that was left by the other blokes, basically did ruin the first half of his presidency, the consequences of which were that Tea Party change 2 years later. I think it's unfair to say that he is the beginning and the end of the problem. There were issues way before, and I think Mitt Romney is a flip-flopper who literally will say one thing and then argue against himself 2 weeks later. That's a guy who's a fantastic politician, but I don't know what that means if you're actually going to be a president. What consistent line of thought will there be? How will you actually negotiate with China? It's one thing to say that you're going to call it a currency manipulator. Will he actually do that once he gets the big briefing and the tap on the shoulder? Gary, if you want to answer the question, if you walked into a polling booth, what would you do tomorrow?
I'd be tempted to vote for Roseanne, who's a late-minute dark horse, but because she's promising to get rid of the BS out of Washington. But look, mate, the problem here is that Obama looks like he's run out of puff. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I say that. He has, in recent days, said, if we just concentrate on the economy, we're going to lose. So, in other words, let's talk about everything else but. Now, that frightens me. Even Bill Clinton, despite Monica and all these other things, still stuck to the mantra, it's the economy, stupid. Obama seems to have a please don't talk about the stupid economy kind of approach, and that scares me. It really scares me. The other thing is that even in that final rally, he said, this, and we've just seen it, this is my last day of campaigning ever. So hang on, what he's actually saying in his final message is, vote for me tomorrow, I'm having 4 years off. I mean, that's the problem. He could become a lame duck very, very quickly if he's got a Congress that's...
campaigning and governing, though.
No, hang on a second. Constantly, politics is all about who gets what, where and how, and I think the whole 4 years is an ongoing campaign.
And in fact, it's far from a lame duck. In the US, a second term is actually the term they usually do something with it.
Yeah, well, that scares me even more, Janine, because he is beholden to a really strange group of people who are affected, disaffected, and all of that. I just think the passion and the ambition of electing the first non-white president is out of the race, and I think a lot of the get out the vote won't be there. Besides, a lot of the people who want to vote for him tomorrow are currently freezing in rooms in New York without power and water, and they're blaming him. So, look, I think the big momentum actually is now with Romney, but Gallup is saying that still Obama is holding him out in places like Ohio. I reckon it's going to be so close, it's unbelievable.
Now, I want to get to the governing question, and effectively he'll be governing in it seems, a hung parliament situation. You can answer it if you want to or not. If you had the chance to pull a lever, who would you pull it for?
Look, it's not a question that I feel comfortable answering,
okay,
because I'm not affected by the decisions. I think the size of the debt is terrifying. Whether or not Romney is the answer to that terrifyingly large debt, I don't really know. But
Janine, are you comfortable answering?
Well, I wouldn't say who I was voting for there or here. I think it's the most private thing, and those who think they know how one votes are usually wrong. But as far as...
then let's get into the damn government.
As far as what you're saying about the Congress, they are used to battling with Congress. That is not an issue. When I was there in July at the dialogue, in fact, a number of experts said in some ways Obama might have more chance negotiating the fiscal cliff with a hostile Republican Congress than Mitt Romney would, because as we know, the Tea Party and the right pushed them so far, expect so much from their people, it might have been it might be very hard for Mitt Romney to deal with them, whereas, as I said, Barack Obama is not running for re-election again. Often second-term presidents are a lot stronger.
I think what Gary says is fairly right about the idea of saying, well, hang on, it's my last campaign. I mean, I get that it's that rock star idea saying, hey, well, this is my last album, you better buy it. But there is a message, I mean, in your last day. I mean, he's not saying I'm going to put my feet up for 4 years, but, you know, you are reapplying to be the CEO.
And by contrast,
that matters.
Romney's message at the end there was very well crafted.
Yeah, very well done.
You know, after everything that he's flopped around on, you know, he's finally found some clarity, I think.
Well, and
you know, Paul, this is the thing. I think Romney's grown into the role. I was no fan, and frankly, both worry me for different reasons. But I reckon Romney has had the momentum of actually looking more presidential, as Obama has been talking about the colour of his hair. I'm sorry, but this sort of, you know, superstar Hollywood kind of it's about me stuff scares me. It scares me here, it scares me there. And I think, look, you asked me who I'd pull if I pulled the lever, which is what they do in America, or push the button if it's computerised. I don't know. I really don't know. I think Romney probably on balance, but that scares me too. So.
Good on you. Thank you. Now, keen to know, who would you vote for? Use the hashtag of PM Live. I just believe that, you know, we sit here, we develop a relationship. I should tell you which way I would go. I probably won't be doing that in about 18 months' time, but I think it'll be rather obvious which way I'm probably going to jump.
Remember, only a few weeks ago, there was indeed a poll done in Australia on who they'd vote for in the US election, and 76% said for Barack Obama. So
exactly.
There you go.
Now, let's talk about what we think is going to happen tomorrow. I put a lot of faith in a website that I do suggest that you have a look at if, like me, you're a political nerd. It is called Real Clear Politics. Now, what they do is that they collect all of the different opinion polls and they put them all there for you to see. Now, the left-wing ones, the right-wing ones in the middle, ones that have got big samples, some small samples, and what they have put together as a picture. And you can go state by state, electoral college, you can get involved in all of that super nerddom. This is probably the best description I can give of the picture as it stands, is that there are 9 swing states. Barack Obama, to get to 270, to win the Electoral College, only really needs to win 2 of them. He will win Nevada because, despite the fact that so many people have lost their homes and the rest of it, the get out the vote, the Hispanic vote, which is running 80-20 his way, will mean he's going to win there. And I think he'll win Ohio because of most of those polls that have been done in Ohio. Yes, there are some that say 50-50. There's one that says Romney is going to get there 1 point. The rest of them say that Obama's going to win there between 2 and 4%. That means the numbers suggest that he's going to get there. But the overall picture looks like he could win 7 of the 9 swing states. So that's the maths as I have seen it. I suggest that you have a look at Real Clear Politics tomorrow and watch all the numbers that come through. So let's call this one. Janine, I know people are saying too close to call, but you've got to put them out. Put them on the desk.
I have such disrespect for forecasters after the interest rates today. I'm wondering if the pollsters could be wrong and maybe Obama will win, not by landslide, but he might just win a bit more comfortably than people think.
OK. Tours, what's going to happen?
OK, well, I was happy enough to have a bet with my husband that I have backed Obama. He has backed Romney, but that is as far as I'm prepared to go.
No, that's an indication. I like this. All right, now Gary, using whatever metrics you want to, and if you want to explain what sources you have a look at, what do you think's going to happen tomorrow? I mean, look, if it's super close in Ohio, we have to wait 10 days for the early provisional ballots to get involved, and that's a whole 2000 mess we don't want to do again. But what do you think's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, I think that's possibly where it could go, mate, the 2000 mess all over again. But we'll see. Look, the latest polling, as I said, Gallup has been published now and suggests that a sample of about 2,200 people that Ohio goes to Obama 50 to 47, 48. I was talking to the Australian coordinator of the Australian Tea Party today, and his contacts were saying a massive sweep in Florida and Ohio and anywhere else you like for Romney, that the get out the vote is strong. Look, I went to Ohio in 1994. In fact, a couple of people, including Joe Ludwig, now a Gillard minister, and we were all there as part of the political exchange program. The Republicans are very, very strong in Ohio. If anybody's got a capacity to get out the vote, it's them. Ken Blackwell, the former Treasurer and then Secretary of State, and he is an African American, very confident about the Republicans pulling the people who need to get out. So Ohio could go the way of Romney, as indeed could Florida. But look, mate, I just don't know. I think it could be 10 days. It literally could be that. And it could be that Obama squeaks across the line. So there you go.